The energy inside the View studio felt charged even before Robert Pattinson stepped onto the stage. It wasn't tension, at least, not yet, but that uneasy electricity that comes from knowing a guest is both beloved and unpredictable. Robert had never been a scandalous figure, but he was honest. And honesty, on a show like The View, often played like gasoline left too close to an open flame. Backstage, Robert was pacing slowly, adjusting the sleeves of his charcoal suit jacket. His expression was composed, but every so often he exhaled through his nose, controlled, steadying breaths he'd mastered over years of press tours and confrontations disguised as interviews. He wasn't afraid, he simply didn't like being misunderstood. And lately, a lot of people seemed desperate to misunderstand him. A stagehand approached with a headset crooked around his neck. "Mr. Pattinson, we're ready for you." Robert gave a polite nod, then rolled his shoulders once, loosening the tension. As he walked toward the curtain, he could hear the audience clapping wildly, the hosts laughing, the usual swirl of banter bouncing across the stage. He stepped into the light with his signature half-smile, awkward but warm, and the cheers surged like a wave crashing forward. "Ladies and gentlemen," Whoopi said with a theatrical sweep of her hand, "the man, the myth, the unexpectedly hilarious legend, Robert Pattinson." Robert chuckled under his breath as he took his seat. "Unexpectedly hilarious, I'm going to hold on to that one." The audience laughed. Whoopi winked. It was a good start. He sat between Whoopi and Sarah, with Joy Behar across from him, arms folded, lips curved in a smirk that never quite reached her eyes. She wasn't hostile yet, just perceptive. Watching him, measuring him, Whoopi launched the interview with an easy question. "Robert, congratulations on the new film. People are calling it your boldest, most emotionally raw performance yet. How does it feel seeing the world respond to this new side of you?" Robert's shoulders eased. Talking about work was always easier. "It feels good. Strange, but good. I think honesty is always terrifying, but it's worth it." Sonny nodded approvingly. "It's refreshing to see an actor willing to dig into such heavy material." "There were scenes that felt almost painfully personal." "It was intentional," he replied. "I didn't want to create a character that felt like a costume. I wanted something messy, human." Sarah added, "Well, you succeeded. People online are saying you shocked them, in a good way." Robert smiled, rubbing his jaw shyly. "That's the best I could hope for, really." The audience applauded. Smooth, comfortable, safe. Then Joy picked up her notecard. Robert noticed the shift immediately. The slight lift of her chin. The gleam in her eyes. Joy was someone who enjoyed stirring the pot, not maliciously, but mischievously. And today, the pot was him. "So, Robert," she began, tone deceptively casual, "this transformation of yours, the darker roles, the brooding persona, the whole gritty reinvention, very dramatic." Robert blinked, unsure where it was heading. "Well, it's part of the job. Actors grow, try new things." Joy tapped her card lightly against the table. Right, but some people think you're trying a little too hard to look tough. Overcompensating, maybe." The audience reacted with soft oohs. A few heads turned. Sarah straightened. Sonny frowned. Robert didn't flinch, but the air around him sharpened. "Trying too hard," Joy shrugged, feigning innocence. "I mean, it's a big shift from your sparkly vampire phase." The mention triggered laughter from the audience, good-natured at first. Robert offered a tight smile. He didn't hate the reference, but the implication behind Joy's tone wasn't lost on him. "I've grown a lot since then." Joy pressed on. "Sure, but isn't it kind of theatrical? Suddenly going full brooding tortured artist? Don't you think people liked you better when you weren't pretending to be something else?" Whoopi's head snapped toward her. "Joy," Robert held up a hand, stopping Whoopi from stepping in. "It's okay, let her finish." Joy seemed pleased by the invitation. "I'm just saying, maybe you're leaning a little too hard into this serious artist thing. Maybe fans miss the charming young heartthrob." Robert leaned forward, elbows on his knees, the polite grin fading. "Joy, I didn't choose my entire career so I could stay frozen at 22. Joy shrugged again. "But don't you think?" "No," he said, voice steady. "And with respect, I think it's strange to expect anyone to remain the same forever just because it's comfortable for other people." The audience broke into applause, but Robert didn't look away from Joy. She chuckled, but her smile tightened. "Someone's a little sensitive." Robert's eyes narrowed, not in anger, but in clarity. "No, I'm not sensitive. I'm direct. There's a difference." The room fell silent. Sarah fidgeted with her hands. Sunny looked impressed. Whoopi muttered a soft, "Lord." Joy leaned back, unconvinced. "Well, it just seems like you're taking yourself awfully seriously these days." Robert straightened, his jaw firm. "I take my work seriously. And anyone who thinks that's a flaw has never created anything meaningful." Joy raised a brow. "Meaningful?" Robert nodded once. "Yes, and with all due respect, you haven't seen the film yet. So maybe wait before deciding who I am now." The cameras resumed rolling after a tense commercial break, but the energy on set had changed completely. The audience, usually buzzing with anticipation, sat stiff and uncertain, whispering behind cupped palms as the host shuffled in their seats. Producers hovered just off stage, their headsets alive with frantic chatter. The red recording light blinked on, but instead of restoring order, it seemed to highlight just how unraveled everything had become. Robert Pattinson sat forward in his chair, elbows on his knees, breathing slow and steady like a man fighting to keep a door from slamming open. Joy Behar, meanwhile, lifted her chin with forced nonchalance, the corner of her mouth still tugging upward with that same dismissive smirk that had sparked everything moments earlier. She shuffled her note cards, pretending composure, but her fingers trembled just enough to betray the act. Whoopi Goldberg, now fully alert and fully annoyed, stared down the table at both of them. She had weathered disagreements, dramatic guests, and more chaos on live TV than anyone could catalog, but something about Robert's eruption had shifted the room in a way that even she wasn't sure how to manage. "Welcome back," she said slowly, her voice deliberately measured. "We're still here with Robert Pattinson, who, has made it very clear he feels strongly about being spoken to respectfully." A ripple of awkward laughter passed through the audience. Robert didn't join. He kept his eyes on Joy. Joy cleared her throat, feigning breeziness. "Look, Robert, it was a joke." "No," he interrupted sharply, though his voice remained controlled. "That wasn't a joke. You don't disguise an insult and call it humor. That's not how that works." The firmness in his tone startled a few gasps from the audience. Cameras shifted angles rapidly, catching every twitch, every blink, every drop of tension hanging between them. Joy let out a brittle laugh. "Come on, don't be so sensitive." Robert leaned back slowly, studying her with a look that was almost pitying, but not quite. "Sensitive, right," he nodded. "Once. You know, that word gets thrown at a lot of people when someone doesn't want to take responsibility for what they said. But I wasn't upset because you teased me. I was upset because you questioned my character. You acted like you knew who I was, what I struggle with, and you made a spectacle of it." Sunny Hostin, who had been silent for most of the tension, leaned in gently. "Robert, would you be willing to share what you meant earlier? About what you've gone through?" He hesitated, but only briefly. Then he exhaled, eyes softening just enough to reveal a very different man beneath the anger. "You know," he said quietly, "people assume acting is glamorous, that success means you're immune to self-doubt or stress. But for years, I dealt with anxiety that made even normal conversations feel impossible. I've worked hard to find my balance, to feel grounded, and when someone, especially on live television, tries to make light of that, it doesn't just sting. It feels like you're being shoved back into an older version of yourself you fought to escape." The room fell silent. Even Joy's face shifted, if not to remorse, then at least to discomfort. Robert continued, voice steady but firm. "You don't know what it's like to wake up every day wondering if you can outrun your own thoughts long enough to show up for people. So no, I'm not going to sit here and laugh at myself to make you comfortable." For a moment, no one spoke. The air was thick, heavy, charged with something far deeper than petty conflict. Then Joy scoffed under her breath. "It's daytime TV. People joke. If you can't handle it." Robert's head snapped up, not angry now, but unmistakably done. "No, you don't get to talk to me about what I can handle." He stood abruptly. The audience gasped again, louder this time. A cameraman flinched. A producer rushed forward, but Whoopi raised a hand, stopping him. Robert turned to the crowd instead of the panel. "I came here to talk about my film, to have a normal conversation. But I won't stay somewhere that encourages people to tear others down for entertainment." He faced Joy one last time. "You may think it's harmless. But I hope someday you understand how dangerous that kind of attitude is for people who are trying to heal." Joy opened her mouth to respond, but no sound came out. Robert stepped away from his chair, not storming, not dramatic, simply leaving like a man who had chosen peace over spectacle. The cameras followed him instinctively until the director frantically signaled to cut his feed. The moment he disappeared backstage, the studio was left in stunned quiet. Whoopi exhaled a long, weary breath. Well, that happened. Sunny shook her head. We have to be better than this. We should create a space where guests feel safe, not attacked. Joy bristled. Oh please, everyone's so sensitive now. Whoopi held up a hand sharply. Joy, enough. The audience murmured, some nodding, some shifting in visible discomfort. Whoopi continued, voice firm. You crossed a line today. Joy's expression flickered, defensive, wounded, uncertain, but she looked away instead of arguing again.